In the early hours of Wednesday 19th November 1924, the body of a little girl was discovered in Stirling. At 1:30 a.m, 4-year-old Agnes Reid, known as Nessie, was found in the corner of a drying green behind some houses in Baker Street. She'd been indecently assaulted and strangled. She lived with her parents at 48 Baker Street, with her being the youngest daughter, and on the Tuesday evening, she'd gone to buy her father's newspaper at a local shop. She'd returned at around 7 o'clock that evening, then had gone out to play with some friends. This was the last time she was seen alive. Around half an hour later, George Reid, a joiner, went to post a letter and noticed his daughter wasn't playing on the street. He looked up and down, but there was no sign of her. Alarmed, neighbours heard her shouts, and soon a search got underway for her. As time went on, and no sign of the girl being evident, the number of volunteer searchers grew to around 150. They searched in local closes, which are narrow passageways between buildings, back gardens, and even as far as the King's Park, but there was no sighting of her. Then, at 1:30 on the Wednesday morning, Mrs. Brown, a neighbour of the Reids, had gone into the yard beyond the house, and there she found the little girl's body, huddled in the corner as though she'd been dropped over the wall from a garden on the other side. Some of her clothing had been torn off and was lying not far from her body. A young man living in Baker Street immediately went to help. He lifted the body, but had only gone a few yards towards her house when he was overcome with emotion and fainted. The girl was handed over to a group of others, and she was taken to Stirling Royal Infirmary. Meanwhile, news of the murder swept through the community like wildfire. A group of searchers then set out to find the perpetrator of the vile act. The police who'd taken part in the search soon had several men on their radar. One of them had been found by a search party, standing with one foot on the wall of the lower back walk, allegedly ready to jump from it. He protested his innocence, and eventually all the men were released without charge, as they all had watertight alibis as to their whereabouts at the time the crime was committed. A medical examination was carried out on Nessie, and it was revealed she was violated and strangled, with strangulation being the cause of death. Several of her wounds had shown signs of severe bleeding, and there were marks on her mouth, which was thought to have been either held or she'd bitten herself. The pathologist believed she'd been dead for around 2 hours before she was found. The Reid family were inconsolable, especially Mary Reid, her mother, and much sympathy was expressed for the family. The woman who'd discovered the body and the people who helped move her were also deeply distressed by what had happened. The Stirling Borough Police, under the auspices of Chief Constable George Nicholl, did door-to-door inquiries, and they believed they were looking for more than one perpetrator. However, investigations got no further. Small groups of people gathered on Baker Street, and the only topic of conversation was little Nessie. They were shocked by her murder, as everyone knew their neighbours. What hindered the investigation was the location. Baker Street at the time was a working-class area with old buildings and dark closes or wynds, intersecting the houses both to the front and back. The street was also poorly lit. All of this made it easy for the killer or killers to cover their tracks. While the street was busy at times, the closes never were, making it easier to entice a child down one with the promise of something such as sweets. The gardens at the back were also easily accessible, and it was surmised the little girl could have been carried a good distance from where she'd been playing. If this was the case, however, why was her body dumped back so close to her home? It also transpired that although Mr. Reid had checked the close early on in the search, there was no sign of his daughter, and this struck the police as strange. It was possible he didn't go right to the end of the close, or that his light wasn't good enough to shine in the far corner. It was also possible the body simply wasn't there at the time, and was only brought back when the search was taking place at a different part of the street and the surrounding areas. It was also surmised the killer or killers mingled with the searchers or even took part in the search. The post-mortem on the little girl took place on the Thursday, attended by Professor John Glaister, Professor of Forensic Medicine and Public Health at the University of Glasgow, and Dr. Henry Vost. On Friday, 28th November, she was laid to rest at the Ballingeich Cemetery in Stirling. Hundreds of people lined the route in sombre silence. Glaister would later testify she'd been attacked with inhumane violence. On 7th December 1925, at a sitting of the High Court of Justiciary in Stirling, Alexander Bickerstaff, alias Noble Dan, a trumpet basket maker and repairer originally from Paisley, appeared before magistrates, charged with murdering Nessie on 18th November 1924. Bickerstaff had run away from home when he was 10 and had tried his hand at being a chimney sweep, but had suffered a head injury during that work. Due to this, he didn't go off to war in 1914, but did work for the government at the time. Before the murder, he'd been sent to institutions at least 4 times due to his mental health, but crucially, he had a string of offences behind him, including theft at Berwick-upon-Tweed, where he'd used the name Daniel Kennedy, just one of many aliases. Bickerstaff had been arrested 5 days after the murder. On 9th December that year, he was committed for trial. His initial trial date was set for 16th March 1925, but he was deemed to be unfit to stand, so it was postponed by Andrew Anderson, Lord Anderson. While he awaited trial, he was initially held at Perth Criminal Lunatic Asylum, with him once escaping but was recaptured quickly. He was freed on 22nd October, then immediately arrested and sent to the Duke Street Prison in Glasgow. On 27th November 1925, he appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court at a pleading diet, where he pleaded not guilty. The High Court sat at Stirling, but once more the trial was postponed until finally in January 1926, when it was moved to the High Court of Justiciary in Edinburgh. This time he was also facing a charge of having indecently assaulted a 7-year-old girl, Mary Jane Knox, on the same day of the murder, in a passage between the back court and the warehouse at 25 Irving Place in Stirling. He'd been disturbed and had bolted. On Monday, 18th January, the trial began before the Lord Justice Clerk, Robert Munro, Lord Alness. The 35-year-old pleaded not guilty. He was defended by Craigie Aitchison. The prosecution case was led by William Watson, King's Counsel, Patrick Balfour, Lord Kinross, the Advocate Depute, and Mr. Hill Watson. During proceedings, a little boy, Andrew Hamilton, said he was playing in the street that evening with Nessie Reid when a man approached and spoke to them. He said he asked Nessie to go to his house, then lifted her onto his shoulders and carried her up the close. He identified Bickerstaff as the man he'd seen. 14-year-old Willie Tate told the court he'd seen Bickerstaff talking to a little girl in the street, and when he went up and asked what the man had wanted, she told him he'd given her a shilling. He told her he was a bad man because he'd heard about a man in the neighbourhood taking little girls up closes. He took the shilling from her and threw it after the man. He had no hesitation in identifying the man in the dock as the man he'd seen that night. On Thursday, 21st January, it was found that the case against Bickerstaff for the murder of Nessie was not proven, one of 3 verdicts available in Scotland at the time, as the judge was hesitant to accept the children eyewitness accounts, even though they corresponded with testimonies they'd given at the time of the incident. On the lesser charge of indecent assault on both Nessie and the 7-year-old girl, he was found guilty. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. In passing sentence, the Lord Justice Clerk stated, "Alexander Bickerstaff, you have been convicted by a discriminating verdict of the jury, and after a patient trial and an able defence, of the crime of indecent assault. That crime has assumed alarming proportions in recent times, and there are indications in the evidence in this case that Stirling is not exempt of its prevalence. It is a crime that must be sternly repressed. You have been already convicted of the same crime, and you were sentenced on 27th March 1923 to 15 months' imprisonment for your offences on that occasion. The sentence of the court on this occasion is that you be detained in penal servitude for 4 years." He'd been found guilty on that previous occasion of assaulting a 6-year-old girl in Kilmarnock at a sitting of the High Court at Ayr. The judge then turned to the jury and told them they would be exempt from jury service for 4 years following the harrowing trial. Bickerstaff maintained his innocence throughout. If he was indeed innocent, then the case remains unsolved, and the perpetrator or perpetrators got away with murder. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.